Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have it at 6:45. I will open the public hearing for amending local law 112, right to farm law, also known as the chicken law. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
under
With liberty and justice.
justice for all.
It was extraordinarily difficult for me hearing people chiming in at different times. Just checking to see if there's anybody else coming in. And that should do it. At this point, the floor is open for any comments on the amending local law 112, the right to farm law. The zoning changes we discussed and approved at the last meeting. This action is required to implement the new law. So the floor is open.
Gary, who's taking minutes tonight?
Oh, that's right. Kim is unavailable tonight, so I'm recording this on the computer, and as a backup, I'm recording it on my video camera in case somebody mugs me and steals my computer on the way home.
Yeah.
It'll be transcribed from your recordings. Thank you for that reminder.
Heidi, do you think you'll be in by Thanksgiving?
To what part? To my
The kitchen?
there is hope.
Good.
However, my new oven is broken.
Oh, that's not good.
We are waiting on a part.
Okay.
For those who just joined, we are in the public hearing for amending local law 112, right to farm law, or the chicken law. I'll give it one more minute. Okay, I am closing the public hearing at 6:50. and opening the November 18th Village Board meeting. Public comment. No public comment. Reports. The superintendent's report, they finished the paving, and we would like to thank everyone for their cooperation with that. We are taking the docks out from the boat launch, and the gate is now closed. Tennis courts, tennis nets, and speed bumps will be coming up in the next week or so. Treasurer. Yes.
Okay, so I emailed everybody the trial balance. Let's see, 2 resolutions I need this meeting. Number 1, disbursement number 5 from EFC State Revolving Fund number 18135 has been approved and will be deposited into the Water Project Fund bank account, or the HWT Fund bank account, tomorrow in the amount of $86,033.54. Resolution is requested to transfer $60,032.42 from the Water Project Fund to the General Fund after disbursement number 5 has been deposited, in order to reimburse the temporary loan that was approved at the last village board meeting. And the adjusting entries to transfer reimbursement to the General Fund from the Water Project Fund are right below.
Motion,
I'll make the motion.
second,
Second.
discussion. All right, the funds to and fro are listed there, so. Poll, Paul, go ahead.
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Matt?
Yes.
Me, Matt. Yeah, yes.
All right, number 2. Between January and April of 2018, the Round Lake Hose Company provided the village with $10,000 to be held in escrow for engineering fees associated with the new firehouse construction. The firehouse has been completed, and reconciliation indicates that $3,142.24 of the escrow money is still remaining and due to the hose company. Resolution is requested to appropriate the remaining escrow funds to pay the hose company, and the entries are right below.
Motion,
So moved by
second,
Paul.
Second.
second. Let's see. Bear with me here. Discussion. Poll, Tom,
Yes.
Heidi,
Yes.
Matt, Matt,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
me. Yes.
And that's it for the treasurer's report for now.
Thank you.
Yes, I have your email with your questions about the vote bid, and I don't know the answer off the top of my head, so I'll have to get back to you tomorrow with the next thing.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Woodlands Library, which brings us to the chief, and maybe you want to speak a little bit about the boat that we have the bid package on tonight.
Frank is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Jess did up, and thanks, Jess, for all the work on that. Submitted for us to replace our boat. The boat's 20 years old. We had it fixed last year, and they told us that would be the last time that we could have it welded, because it's just not no spot left to weld in case it breaks again. This year, about a month or so ago, we had a call up on Saratoga Lake, and backing into the lake, we had a problem with the trailer, and luckily it was right at South Shore Marina, so we left it there, and they told us that the trailer is rotting out. So we decided we need to get both of them replaced right now. Well, it'll be for the next season because I'm sure there's going to be ice shortly. Because basically the boat and the trailer, if somebody's willing to give us money for it, they told us to trade it in as quick as possible so that we could do it. So Jess has all the information. It's basically the same boat that we have now. If the bid goes through, just updated with, 20 years of improvements. So does anybody have any questions on the boat? No, okay. So I'll just work with Jess and find out, all the information on when she's gonna have it in the paper and the bids and all that. Other than that, last month we were still busy. We had 48 calls last month. This month has slowed down quite a bit, and we'll see how that finishes up the rest of the year. We're still over 400 calls so far this year. Our budget with the town went through. Gary was there when we had a meeting. They approved the budget. Basically, we locked in the same budget amount for the next 3 years. So that way we don't have to go back to them every year and argue our point. We do that with the town of Ballston. We have a long-term contract with them, which I believe is going to be up after this payment. So for next year, we'll have to work out another contract with them. The only other thing going on, we will still be doing Santa unless the governor shuts us down, but we're still going to do the Santa Express. That'll be on December 19th. I will get all the information to either Kim or Jess or in the office so they can put it out to the, the people in the village. It'll probably be, usually the village is in the morning. And once we confirm that that's what it's going to be, then I will let them know what time that will start to the village. This year, we can't stop and hand out candy canes to all the kids like we normally do. And we're not even sure if there's going to be taking pictures with the kids. So we'll see how things are roughly a month from now on whether Santa's just going to come through on the truck or if Santa will be able to get off and, get some pictures with the kids. Any questions on anything?
Okay, thank you. Code enforcement, Peter.
We poured a couple of new foundations in Griffin's Ridge. We have a discrepancy on where Cleveland Avenue is, the actual placement of the road. So we had some as-builts done. It shows the road needs to be shifted over. At least the paved part of the road has to be shifted over. On Victoria Landing, there was it turns out that the book that the homeowners got, the HOA book, shows certain plantings around the units, which Amador says is not the approved drawing. So there's some discrepancy, a little fighting going on about what each home gets and what the HOA says they have. 26 Albany Avenue came back to haunt us a little bit again. They put a radon vent out the rear of the building, which is a 1-hour firewall. You can't puncture that wall. After much back and forth with the contractor, they'll move the radon vent. And rather than the planning board was set to meet this month on Morris Road development, but after reviewing the development and putting everybody in the same room, putting 10 or 11 people in a room to review it, the drawings, it initially calls for 2-family homes. And they wanted to do cluster development. And with cluster development, you can only do 1-family homes. So it meant there was no point in us meeting to review 2-family homes. So they said they'll get back, they'll have to revise their proposal. And that's it for code.
Can you take a question?
Sure.
On that Cleveland Road business, I don't quite, does this have anything to do with the guy's request to put a fence up?
No, it really doesn't. It started with when they staked out the lot, they realized that the paved part of the road was over by 3 feet to the eastern side of the road. That the paved part should be centered. It's 12 inches. The road is a 20-foot wide with 12 feet being paved. So there should be 4 feet on each side. And we had 1 foot on one side and 7 feet on the other side. I don't know about the fences, you know. I thought the problem was the light and the gate are on private property, on this person's property. They were always on the property. They were on the property when Belmonte subdivided the property. So I figured that's their problem. It's not our problem.
But the road issue affects, I mean, the couple times I went down there, the road just seems not wide enough. And it doesn't seem to be any chance for the guy to put a fence up without violating some kind of right of way or being actually on the road or something. I mean,
They will move the paved part of the road over about 3 feet. So there'll be 4 feet on each side of the road. So if his property line, there'll be between the road, the paved part, and his property line should be 4 feet. Whether he puts a fence up, I think currently, if you look at the, it's a PDD, I don't think we have buffer zones where people can't put up fences. So
Peter and I will check that out tomorrow, because I'm certainly not interested in seeing 6-foot fences on both sides of the walkways.
I know that I've talked to some of the homeowners there, especially the ones that live on the trail, and they would love to stick fences up. And they want to do it not on the other side of the buffer zone. So they would claim the buffer zone also. I just don't think we should cave into that. I think there was always a buffer zone. And if you wanted to put a fence up, you could do it inside the buffer zone.
yeah, I
When
mean,
you say inside the buffer zone, you mean at the end of the property before the buffer zone,
Right,
kind of on the house side of the buffer zone.
Is
right.
the buffer zone included on their deed, or is that village land?
Yes. No, it's included on their deed.
But they can't improve it, right? I mean, it has to,
Right, right.
an offense would be considered, or could it be considered?
Yeah,
altering
I mean,
buffer
it's already come up with one homeowner who wanted to put a fence up
Yeah,
on the other side on his property line. And I said, no, you can put a fence up, but you have to put it in 20 feet. And they accepted it.
Can they put plantings there in the buffer zone, like a tree, or I'm just
Oh, yeah,
curious,
they
or a
could.
bush?
Sure.
We worked that out
So on
with
that,
Jason Kemper in the county. We had one homeowner planted a series of shrubs along
right,
the farthest entrance towards Route 9.
yeah, that
As
makes
long as they
more
remember
sense.
not to whack them down with that big whacker that they use.
do they have any different restrictions on fences in Griffin's Ridge than we do in the village, or is it the same
With the HOA?
code carrying through? With the, yeah, with this,
My understanding is the village code controls the placement of fences and that there is nothing special in the legislation. for Griffin's
okay,
Ridge. They are asking for us to change that,
okay,
but without the board taking any action, they're stuck with our zoning code.
So we
going
should-
back just briefly to the access road on Cleveland Road. That is kind of unlike the road that's in the development proper. And I just don't want us to get into a situation where we have no place to put or plow the snow. And I hope that whatever you guys do to see how that gets done, I mean, we can't have people putting fences on alongside a road that we need to get through. And it's an access road. It's for fire. It's for DPW.
A fence would
It's
not be
not
a
a regular
problem.
size road.
A fence would not be a problem with the snow if the asphalt had been located in the center of the roadway. But at one point, it swings over to the east and sort of bumps up against the edge of our strip of property instead of being centered.
I did talk to Johnny about it, and it looks like he, according to our code, he could put a fence up on his property line. Johnny and I talked about it and thought, well, if he went 2 feet off the property line, that would give 6 feet from the paved part of the road to the fence, enough for snow to be plowed too. Although that means he'll probably put up a big, I would guess, plastic fence along Cleveland Avenue. And that's the last thing I'd want to see, a big plastic fence.
So, Peter, let's investigate this tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Auditorium AP3, Lydia, Heidi?
Don't have anything. Lydia, did you want to say anything?
AP3 didn't meet this month. We did a little business by email. I just want to point out that the benches are in place and secured with 2-foot rods into the ground attached by welded brackets. So no
Good.
guarantees, but I think they're pretty secure. And I think they came out really, really well.
I did. Okay, that's it?
Yep.
All right, Veterans Committee. I'd like to thank the Veterans Committee for the wreath laying ceremony and refreshments. Victor and Barb Iska moved from the village, and Victor tendered his resignation from the Veterans Committee. So we would like to sincerely thank him for his commitment over the years and his leadership in the Memorial Brick Program as well.
Is someone taking his place?
That I'm not sure. I think the members of the committee are Maya McDonough, Chance, and Danielle Rigney. And I may have missed some others, and I apologize if I did. All right, next we have the right to farm law resolution. I would like to move this resolution, and I'll read it because it's not terribly long. Whereas the keeping of chickens is permitted under certain circumstances in residential zones within the village of Round Lake, and whereas the village board of trustees wishes to regulate the manner in which chickens are kept in order to ensure that neighbors are not inconvenienced thereby through amendment of chapter 112 farming. And whereas the village board of trustees finds that the proposed local law will not have a negative environmental impact. And whereas the public hearing was held at 6:45 on the 18th day of November, 2020 at the village meeting room in the village hall at 49 Burlington Ave, Round Lake, New York, at which time all persons wishing to be heard were heard. Therefore, it is resolved that village board of trustees designates itself lead agency for purposes of administration of the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to the project, and notes that no other entity qualifies to be lead agency with respect to the proposed legislation. And it is further resolved that the village board of trustees issues a negative declaration with respect to the proposed legislation. And it is further resolved that the proposed local law amending chapter 112 farming of the Round Lake Village Code is adopted and enacted with the village, and the village clerk is directed to file the same with the New York State Secretary of State forthwith. Phew. And second,
I'll second.
Paul, second. Discussion? Second.
Yeah, just for the record, and I know you're recording it, I don't know what was on the minutes for the last meeting, and I'll just be brief. I oppose it because I feel it's an unnecessary law. I feel the right to farm law, when it was passed back in the 90s, specifically excluded the RV2 section of the village because of the density issue. And this would be a violation of the density issue, if that is still is such, by changing the right to farm law. We don't really need farming practices in the RV2 zone. The other thing, and reason I oppose it is because our comprehensive review plan stipulated that the RV2 zone should be the most restrictive of the zones. And this obviously changes that intent. So I'll be voting negative. Thank you.
Other discussion?
I just hope that if this becomes problematic, that, you know, I'm going to vote for it, but I am concerned about what it means for the historic district. And, you know, we've had problems with sheds and pools and, you know, chickens. Hopefully people are going to be reasonable, but you never know. So I'm hoping that villagers are going to be reasonable with this, but we will see.
Okay, thank you. Tom? Polling. Tom?
He's muted.
You're muted.
Tom is no.
I voted no.
Okay. Heidi?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Me, yes. Paper Streets is next, and I don't think we have anything more on that. I think Tom is going to get someone.
He emailed us just before the meeting with the list of the
You
streets.
beat me.
Yeah.
I have circulated a table to the board members with a recommendation of which paper streets I believe have already been made parkland because they border parks, because they are already parks, and which sections of paper streets would need to have a designation as parkland if the board wanted to go in that direction. So I figure the board can have that to look at and start making decisions at the next meeting or whatever you think appropriate.
Are we going to have any?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
I just had a question on your chart. You sometimes have north and south. That's like 4th Street North and South. What does the north and south refer to in these? Like 3rd Street, 4th Street?
Well, the
North.
street has a north-south orientation, and that one of the portions of the street may be bordering parkland, and another portion may be separated from parkland by bisecting streets.
So it's not north or south of a certain point, which means it's like 3rd, 4th, because I live on it. There's 2 sections of it. So the northern section borders parkland, which I know it does, although the whole street shouldn't be listed as a paper street. And the south one is the one by Wesley over to Koval. That's what you would mean by north and south, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
that for one, in a sense, the decision is already made, and for the other,
Yeah.
the board needs to exercise its discretion on whether or not to make it parkland.
Right.
Are we having discussion about this, Gary, about what we'd like to do now, or are we tabling that for
I
future?
haven't seen the map yet, so
Okay,
I would suspect.
I will withhold my comments until.
And this might be wouldn't this be a good one for the alternate meeting too, when we do that? You know, for the
Sure.
first of the month meeting.
And I'm not seeing a map, I'm seeing a list.
Right, a
It's a
chart.
list, yeah.
Okay, excuse me, water rates, nothing new there either, so we'll hold that off. Tom, in his comments, did remind me that I was looking for someone to take the lead in the zoning. We've done the comprehensive plan update, so we're still looking for someone to take the lead in that project. I know it started a few years back, and there was somebody, a village resident, Mike Allen maybe, who was working on it, and then he moved, and that kind of got dropped. So I know, Tom, this is something you're very interested in, so maybe you'd consider taking.
Yeah, we some years ago, we attempted to hash through the codes and the definitions. And I think that was when the board was Chris and me and Carrie and Dominic and Dixie. And it was a battle royal at some point, some points on just defining words. Mike Allen was a professional of some sort in the codes and zoning field. And he offered to help us out and then moved.
It got so bad that he moved?
Yeah, it's
Zoned them out.
it's a fairly arduous task. I think Peter was around then.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we'd begin again, but I'd be happy to start.
May I make a suggestion here?
Yes.
We are looking at revising our zoning code to take into account short-term leases like Airbnbs and so forth. Perhaps the most significant part of that is making sure that we have definitions in place that accurately describe certain uses, including short-term, but also things like boarding house and motel and lodging house and so forth. That effort is underway. We had a meeting this morning with respect to that, and we spent almost all of the meeting going through the definitions in our zoning code and making suggested changes, not just with respect to short-term rentals, but where we found definitions for uses that when you looked back at the zoning, further into the zoning code, discovered that they weren't permitted uses in any zone. So, and then other ones that were not entirely consistent. So why don't we wait until we finish going through the definitions and then circulate those suggestions to Tom, your committee?
That sounds good to me. I'll follow your lead on it. It'll keep me in the loop somehow, or I'll just check in with you.
Dan Shapiro is going to take a stab at completing the review of the definitions and may actually have a draft for circulation in a week.
I'll contact Dan
We
and
begin on Wednesday at 10:30. And we should have it by then. And if I don't see that you've already gotten a copy of those proposed revisions, I'll make sure that one gets emailed over to you.
okay, thank you.
And we came across the definition problem and trying to figure out what the heck 36, the inn at Round Lake actually is. That was maddening.
What Danny pointed out is that there was a variance granted for it. So in a sense, it doesn't necessarily fit anything in our code because the parameters were described by the variance.
Is there an actual piece of paper with a variance, or is this urban lore?
I asked Dan that, he said, I am sure that they received a variance or an amendment to a variance. But the book in which that would be located is not up in the upstairs in the archives. And rumor has it that a member of the board is in possession of it as we speak.
Not it. Does anybody have it?
No.
We shall
I
talk.
have, I confess, I have some old paperwork I could look through, but I don't recall anything to do at the end.
It's really important. If you could look through that.
I
that would be
believe,
great.
I believe the paperwork is downstairs in the storage room. And downstairs, so is the planning. It was, used to be upstairs, but we brought it downstairs in reviewing it. So,
I went through it and I could not find anything except when he wanted to change it to a daycare center, and that never happened. And
right, I have all the files on it. It appears, my guess is it never happened. It never changed. It was somehow, you know, we could sit down and look at the paperwork. It appears that,
If you would do that, I would appreciate it greatly because
okay, okay, Tom,
it would be very helpful to have.
okay.
Okay, next is the exciting election results. These are the unofficial results, which are posted in the office. Mayor 356, Matt 289, Tom 288. I think we suffered some by being in the bottom right-hand corner of the ballot, that anybody who's in a hurry or stressed or anything just goes across, does their thing, and forgets about it. I probably
Gary-
did not do enough job letting people know that.
Gary, does it say how many people that eligible voters in the village actually voted?
500,
500,
Oh, okay.
500, plus,
600 registered voters.
plus some absentee ballots. So it was a very high turnout. But how many did you say Mayor got, Gary? 300 and something?
346, I think.
Yeah. So in other words, 150 of the 500 that voted didn't even fill out anything for the village election. So
Well, that could be because you were unopposed, but they opposed you.
No,
could be. Yeah. Could be.
But in this,
There were
in
7
this-
write-in for
I'm
trustees.
waiting to
though.
see who.
right, in the spirit of the season, can I demand a recount of all of these?
Yes,
Canvassing or something?
but thank God the county will have to do it, not us.
Okay, congratulations, you guys, all of you.
Thank you. So having the county run the elections, I think, worked out very well.
Yeah, that was the only downside, I think, Gary, to your point, is that
We don't get the write-ins, yeah.
is the location on the ballot, and we don't get to see how many votes Duncan got. But other than that,
You
it
don't
was
get to
good.
know who the write-ins anymore?
When things calm down, they're still counting votes at the county. So,
'Cause that was like my favorite part of the whole thing.
I know. So we will get those when the results are official,
Okay.
next week.
I don't know if how the county reports it, but if there's not a certain amount of write-ins for a specific person, I think they might just count it as scattering or something like that. I think at the county level, I'm not positive, but we might not.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
File a
So
Freedom of Information Act.
there you go.
This is important stuff.
Yep.
And Opera Saratoga, Heidi or Lydia?
Well, I don't know what I want to say about that, because I thought we were going to have some more direction from Kim about where it stands, but has everybody seen the emails from Saratoga Opera about their interest in the auditorium?
I read the email. I think there were numbers that were yet to be determined, correct?
It was very general. It was just saying
Yeah.
that they were interested, that they would like to be there for 3 weeks to a month, that they were hoping to be the sole tenant at that time, but that was in an ideal world. So, I had a couple questions. How much, were they planning to pay? Could we have some other things, maybe smaller village stuff? We generally give Carpe Diem, a block of time, but we still can use this stage for smaller things. So there's a couple questions like that, but I think before we continue, is that something that the board would be interested in?
Yes.
I think so. And I think the timing was sort of late May into mid-June, if I recall correctly. So
For
I
the
don't think
Carpe Diem, yeah.
No,
May 31st through June 27th.
for the opera, it was May 31st through something, right?
Carpe Diem.
June 27.
July.
Yeah.
Carpe Diem
So
did not conflict.
yeah, and also too, I think usually our season, quote unquote, doesn't really sort of get going until a little bit later into the summer. So I think in terms of the number of events that could potentially conflict with it, I would imagine it'd be fairly few. So I think their timeline, in addition to it not conflicting with Carpe Diem, I think it looks pretty reasonable, and their requests seem pretty reasonable. If we can maybe, like you said, do some small things in the meantime.
Small repairs, right? Like one of the bathrooms.
May I interject something here? Dan Pesca sent an email to Kim and Adrian and me on this topic, and since I'm the only one here, it's okay if I read it?
Yes.
Okay. I see that Opera Saratoga is on the agenda for the village board tonight. Unfortunately, I will not be able to call into the meeting, but I wanted to strongly urge the board to review the latest industry standard pricing for rentals of a performing arts space. I know I'm on the technical side, but having worked in various venues over the years, I want to look out for the best interests of the village and ensure that any group such as Opera Saratoga is charged appropriately. The Troy Music Hall updated their rental rates for fiscal year 2020, and the one-page sheet can be found, and he gave the website. There is base pricing and a la carte pricing. For example, if Opera Saratoga will require us to provide a staff person to run lights or sound or box office, we should charge for that as an additional fee. For the auditorium, a weekly rental charge would probably work better than a daily rate. And he provided an example. I know you're not talking about these details at this time, but I thought I should convey that.
Yes, and one of my questions was, who is providing technical support? Is it Dan? What's his role in this, and how would he be compensated? Because he doesn't need to do anything else for free, that's for sure.
Right. Well, that probably feeds into the issue he raised. He has been in touch with the Opera Saratoga, and just because I've seen him been copied on an email providing technical information and asking for a tech writer from past shows to help plan for the summer, get idea of needs, staffing expectation, what technical staff will you provide and what staff are you expecting us to have? So it sounds like the issue's been raised. And I'm not involved in this at all. I'm just the conduit for this information.
Yeah, thank you. And there's a lot to be figured out. They are a quality organization, as I'm sure everybody knows. And yeah, I think we need to, with that level of talent and organization, we ought to be able to charge a reasonable fee, a going rate. I know they do a lot of fundraising as an organization in Saratoga, and Adrian is going to start working on this. She just wanted to know if we wanted her to proceed.
One question I have that I asked Adrian and I haven't heard back is what the expectation for audience size is, so we can start planning for how to handle that. I mean, obviously we don't need to do it this month, but
Depends on how many seats we have installed.
Yeah, chairs would be nice, and we need to figure out parking, and there's a whole lot to
exactly.
But it's a really interesting idea, and
no, I'm very excited.
I love the idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so
Yeah,
we'll
thank you.
start working on it.
And we have no correspondence, no October minutes. approval of abstract. I will move it. The treasurer has provided a motion to approve the October abstract for the total of $235,503.95. $235, $235,503.95.
Second,
Discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Paul?
yes, yes.
Yes.
All right.
Gary, do I need an actual resolution to start the bidding process for the fireboat?
I do not believe so. Tom?
My understanding is that we do. It's on the agenda. I would recommend that someone move a resolution accepting the bid package as circulated and authorizing it to be published.
Perfect.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes,
Yes.
Who seconded that?
I
Tom.
did. Tom Bergen.
You. All righty, Mr. Village Attorney.
We did receive a letter from the attorney for Belmonte. I'm going to read it because it's short. Please accept this note as my request on behalf of my client, Belmonte Builders, that an amendment to the village code be considered by the village board, allowing a fence to be installed at the property line rather than setback. We believe this will create a more pleasing setting for homes and also enable homeowners to better enjoy the entirety of their lot. We appreciate your courtesy and consideration of this request. Thank you.
Now, is that for a particular homeowner or in general?
That is for the village in general. Obviously, I think that her concern, Belmonte's concern, is with Griffin's Ridge. And I think part of her justification for that is everybody has a current survey, so that if a fence were put up on the property line, there's no question that it would be misplaced, which is obviously not the case in the remainder of the village. So in any event, that's I've delivered the message. I thought I had circulated the letter. Perhaps I hadn't. I will. I'll make sure that that's done tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure I saw that letter.
yeah, I've got it right here. I have it here.
I thought it referred only to the Cleveland Ave issue, but it's more general in scope. All right, that's certainly something for discussion. And the board would have to approve that?
Yes, that would be an amendment to the zoning code, like any other amendment. And if we are looking at a general set of amendments, then perhaps this can be part of that greater project.
All right, I'll discuss that with Peter tomorrow also. Village mayor. Got nothing. Village trustees. Tom?
Nothing for me.
Heidi?
No, thank you.
Pat?
I just want to congratulate the residents in the village that put together the Halloween event for the kids. You know, it's always a great, we always do a big shebang in the village with Halloween, and this year wasn't quite the same, and we didn't get involved with it as a village, but I know a number of the residents, you know, took it on themselves to put together a socially distanced and safe trick-or-treating night for the kids. And my kids had a great time and really appreciate it. So just want to thank the people that put that all together.
Good point. And Paul?
Nothing.
We do have an executive, we'll have public comment in a second. We do need an executive session, but we can't really have one, so it's for a fire department member. So Tom, is it okay if we just read it and sign it in the office?
Um,
I don't know how else to do it.
I think reading it and signing it in the office and then having a vote at the upcoming workshop meeting, after which the answer is basically released, would be a legitimate way to go about that and maintain privacy.
I had a question. Is there a reason we can't have an executive session on Zoom and have it read to us and we vote and then we just stop by to sign? Just curious. Is there a reason you can't have an executive session on Zoom?
I think in the future, if all the documents were scanned and everyone else signed off and the board members had those to review in their entirety, you could do it that way, but I don't. It's set up for this meeting.
Fine, thanks.
Clunky and Frank, ask your potential member for a little patience for a couple weeks, okay? All right, next,
As far as,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
just as far as that goes, our recruit class is just starting. So we wanted to get him in there now. Do any of you have any objections? He's covered our insurance and this and that. Do you have any objections to him starting off with the rest of the recruits so that he doesn't have to wait until next spring or fall, whenever we do the next one?
Looks like he's
Would he be going on any calls?
No, he doesn't go on calls till probably summer, by the time he gets done with the recruit class.
He looked like he was very experienced already.
Yes. He's comes to us, he's a former chief, former president from a department out in Western New York. But this would just let him, you know, there are a couple of more classrooms. It would just let him start seeing the way we do things. So it's nothing different than he's done before. No, there's no calls involved. He would not be going out anywhere or anything like that.
Have any objections if it's
I'm fine with it.
okay?
I think it's fine myself. It's better than fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
thank you.
And next, public comment.
Is anyone trying to talk but muted? We have a couple of people from the public. No,
Doesn't look it.
I can't see them.
No, I don't think so. I just scanned through.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go move.
Second.
Third,
Fourth.
All right, well, thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Meeting.
Good night, everybody.
good night.
Thank you.
I remembered to
Bye-bye.
record it. Bye-bye.